It is 6:30. We have a quorum of the board. This meeting has been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. Will you please stand as Mr. Cooper prays? And now the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. All right, I did not see any public comment, nor do we have any public in attendance, so we'll move past that. All right, discussion action items. All right, first thing on the agenda, I make a motion to approve the contract of Dr. Josh Martin to officially assume possession of the superintendent for Maypearl ISD effective March 30th.
Second.
Any discussion?
Second, sorry.
Thanks. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, it is done. Congratulations, Dr. Martin. Excited to have you get started. Yeah. All right, do you have anything you'd like to say, Dr. Martin?
I'm just excited to be here and I'm ready to get going on Monday.
Right on, us too. All right, good deal. Absolutely not.
Picture.
All right, next on the agenda, we have a board workshop.
Oh, y'all changed chairs on me. So, we normally, I normally start any of these board workshops with an introduction, tell you a little bit about myself, and then I can go around and I ask you all the same. Feel like we've done enough of these that y'all probably don't need to know who I am or where I've been from. And so we're gonna jump right into the training. Tonight's training, we're gonna talk. I'm using as a basis what I call my new team of eight training. That new team of eight training normally is when you bring in a new superintendent and you've got those new board members, how you mesh, and just some good practices that you need to keep in mind. But then we spend really the last 2/3 of the training on where you are as a district and what you see your vision going forward is. This is really going to be a precursor to some work that we will do this summer. I know that's something that Jared and Josh and I have talked about is really getting back together, and we've even talked about doing a team of 16, where we bring in staff and we talk about where the school district is, and then we set some definitive goals. And so, looking forward to that training. So this is kind of step one, and we'll do the team of 8 stuff. So I'm wearing my Ranger shirt tonight. I want to tell you a little bit about why. First of all, it's red. I don't have much red stuff. I'm a blue and gold person, but this is my red shirt, so I'm wearing this in honor of Maypearl. But I'm also wearing this in honor of my Texas Rangers. I am a big-time Texas Ranger homer. In fact, it was my son that I was talking to. He and I always talk about, it's kind of the day before, we always say, all right, how many? And so he's taking 87 this year, and he's predicting playoffs, and I'm saying 84. So anyway, that's kind of the game that we always play. And then normally I will find my way out to somewhere between 6 and maybe 8, 10 games, something like that. But I've now got a 4-year-old who is he's becoming a baseball hound, and so he almost insists that I take him pretty regularly, and I don't hesitate to do that. But this shirt and the Rangers kind of and Maypearl all mesh. I don't know if y'all know this story or not. So in 2010, Sunnyvale only had sophomores and juniors because we were starting. No, that was the first year we actually had a high school. We actually had all 3 grades. We had sophomore, juniors, and seniors on the varsity. And our varsity came over to play Maypearl football. We weren't ready, and Maypearl absolutely tattooed us. It was one of those games that at halftime it was about 28 or so to nothing. But I was monitoring pretty close what was happening about 40 miles from here. 2010, that was the Friday night that the Rangers were playing the Yankees. They were ahead 3-2, and they were 1 win away from going to the World Series. The game wrapped up. Thankfully, they ran the clock in the second half. I ran down, told Caleb, great game, and I headed to the car and listened to the rest of the game on the radio. Never forget, as I crossed off of 66, went over the overpass, and about the time I turned onto the 30 access road, I heard the call. Eric Nadell said he struck him out looking. Feliz had struck out Alex Rodriguez and sent the Rangers to their first World Series. So when I said I'm in Maypearl tonight and we were talking Rangers, Caleb said, well, I remember the night that they went to the World Series. He said, wasn't real good for us, but it was real good for the Rangers. So great story, and anytime I drive past that stadium, I think about that night, especially the day before Rangers opening day. So we've already talked a little bit about the workshop objectives. So I wanted to talk a little bit about board superintendent relations. I will tell you that relationships, it doesn't matter if you're talking about a family, if you're talking about any people that are codependent, you've got to have great relationships. I will tell you, your superintendent needs to be aware of the fact that one of the most important relationships he's going to make are with his building principals. You know, those relations. But when it comes to the 8 of you, we're going to talk for a few minutes just about defining roles and expectations. I think that's incredibly important. As you talk about what that is, it's really important to understand what's the role of the superintendent, what's the role of the board. You know, when I do this training across the state, I talk and I say I was a government teacher. Government teacher, taught football. I know that's kind of a hard, stretch. Government teacher, teaching, coaching football. But anyway, I taught about the branches of government. The board is actually, I look at the board as the legislative branch. You guys make the laws, you set the policies, you set the direction, and then it's up to your chief executive, because you do have someone that represents the executive branch to carry those out. And I think that's incredibly important. Not only do you have to define roles, but one of the things I want you to spend some time doing, and this is not tonight, but at some point the 8 of you need to go into closed session across the way, and you need to say clearly, these are the expectations we have for the district. Why? I don't want your superintendent to ever guess what those expectations are, because he may not communication. You've got to make sure that you do communicate those expectations. Number two, clear communication protocols. We're going to talk about, in my opinion, what good communication looks like. I think that needs to be an understanding going in. One of the things that I did with you all is from the time that we started the process, you almost expected you were going to get an email from me on Fridays. I wanted you to do that so that when you went to church and people said, hey, how's the search going? You didn't have to come back and say, I don't know, I hadn't talked to that guy in a month. That does not need to be the case. You need to make sure that the superintendent is communicating in that same way, and we'll talk more about that. Building trust. Trust is one thing that you have to be intentional to build, but you also have to be intentional to keep. And we'll talk about some key components of that. Goal priority setting. We're going to not talk a whole lot about goal priority setting tonight. I am going to talk to you about what good goals are. But when we come back together, we'll start talking about what the goals of the district need to look like, and then actually, I want us to form what you believe that to be. Maybe even with the thought that eventually you have a formalized strategic plan that you're working through. Last, this is the key. So if I came to your board meeting and I sat in the back, if I sat in the back and I did nothing other than, keep in mind, I'm a football coach, right? I can watch film and I can chart. I can say in this formation on the right hash, this is what they're doing on the left hash, that 1st and 10, we can chart, and then I can come up with some tendencies. I can come to your board meeting, and I would have to do it maybe from the back row. I'd rather do it from the back row. I think I could get a better feel. But if you start charting the board meeting, what's your board meeting all about? And the amount of time that you actually have conversation about students, you're going to be a more effective team of 8. If your time is spent talking about personality conflict, if your time is spent about the dairy, the milk bid or the ice cream bid or whatever, y'all, that's not nearly as important as that teaching and learning component. One thing that you told me over and over again was, we're here, but we really want to be here. That starts with the 8 of you. It does. It starts with the 8 of you. And so I think that's important. So keeping students at the center of every decision, every conversation, incredibly important. I want to talk about best practices for your superintendent, okay? Your superintendent must be a communicator. The communication must be clear, and it has to be consistent. Now, sometimes when we think about what is communication, the default is I go back to my office and I fire off an email. I will tell you the best communication I ever did was in the halls during a passing period. When I went by to see a teacher, if a principal and I needed to talk about something, that is great communication. That's that one-on-one. I will tell you, the advantage that you have, I'm guessing that most of you that work in, quote, central office are right down one hallway. For me, we were right down one hallway. I could step outside and I could say, hey, I need to see everybody a minute. We had that, but it was that clear and consistent communication, incredibly important. I believe that one of his jobs is to provide complete information to your board for meetings. In 16 years, I can remember a handful of times, I don't know a set number, but not many, that the board didn't have the information they needed to make a good decision. If I did not do that, that was a coaching error in my part. Okay, that was my fault. And so I've got to make sure that any information that you have that you need, I'm going to provide for you. The superintendent's got to be willing to make recommendations. Y'all worked with me long enough to know that you're going to talk, but if y'all say, what do you think? I'll make a recommendation. Now, our relationship is a little different, but when I was a superintendent, I would put together a booklet. Any agenda item, this is my recommendation. I wanted my board to know specifically where I was. Now, I will tell you, I could read the room. If Chad wasn't comfortable with something, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to roll that out. Okay? If Steve and I hadn't talked about that, and they had some apprehension, we might kind of talk about it one meeting, and then the next meeting we would have that recommendation. But the superintendent's got to do that. You have to lead the district district with conviction. This is what I mean by leading it with conviction. Simple as this. When he wakes up on Monday morning, and I know he's already doing it, but when he wakes up on Monday morning, his first thought is, how can I get Maypearl to be the best place possible? Had an opportunity. We ran two searches relatively parallel to each other. Bullard. The Bullard search ended about 2 weeks before, no, 1 week. I think Mr. Dyer is now, he's been 1 week hired. When he came in, I sent an email out, like you guys get from me every once in a while. I sent an email out, copied him on it, and he actually made a copy because one of our partners is the superintendent at Lindale, Stan Surratt. He made a comment on the email that he said, "Watch out, Mr. Surratt. Watch out, Lindale Bullard's coming." I want that. I want him to be competitive to the point that he understands that our job is to make sure that we kick Grandview's butt in everything possible. That's simple. You know, we woke up. I woke up and I had cattle mills on my mind. From, you know, from everything from how we were going to do in football to how we were doing with the ACT, SAT tests, everything in between. I think that you have to lead your district with that conviction that we're going to be the best. Be the lead learner. We ask our kids to learn. We want our teachers to grow as learners. I believe that the principals need to learn, need to continue to learn, but the superintendent has to be the lead learner. If the superintendent kind of has his oars picked up and he's not getting after it, I will tell y'all that goes all the way down. I've had the good fortune of being in some great organizations along the way through TASA, within Region 10. I know a lot of the folks in Region 10. Guess who? The first time he goes to Region 10, guess who's going to be there? Because I want him engaged with those people, and I want him to continue to learn and grow. Set high expectations for the district. If you come in and you say, you know, we're a pretty comfortable B, and as long as we can maintain a real comfortable B staff, and now y'all know I'm not big on A through F, but if that is your focus, then that's probably what you're going to achieve. I believe in high expectations. If you're going to do it, be good at it. Advocate for the district in public education. We are in a battle, and we're going to talk more about that later. But I think your superintendent has to beat the drum of why Maypearl. You can choose to go somewhere else, but Maypearl is your choice. I think you have to do that. And then if he has not been to Austin, I'll teach him the directions, because I think that is an important step as well. I think that you have got to advocate for good policy for education. Notice the last one, keeping student success at the heart of decisions. Hear that one before? Anything that he does, if it comes down to what's best for the employees or what's best for the students, we can't do both. Kids always win. They do. And I think that's an important aspect. Best practices for you. I think you should ask good questions. Remember what I said about the agenda, the information for that agenda? If there's something on that agenda that you're not sure about, I want you to ask. Ask your superintendent in advance. When you are here in open session, I think that there needs to be good conversation about those, and that starts with good Q&A as well. Being prepared for each meeting. Goes without saying, this group, you're good with homework. You are. I give y'all a pretty solid A- when it comes to doing your homework with me. All right. Homework with me, interview questions. All right. We had the community summit. I think y'all wound up giving me 28 names. I mean, I don't give A+, but that's pretty good. I've had some that they were a real solid C. But y'all do a good job preparing, and I want you to make sure you continue to prepare for each meeting. Call the superintendent in advance if issues exist. Don't catch him off guard on a Monday. Call him on a Friday and say, hey, just want you to know that this is something that's being talked about. That's important. Have you talked to the superintendent? This is different in every district. There are some that will say, I don't want that person calling me. I want that person to call, chain of command. Call the high school principal. Call the athletic director. I always said, board, tell them to call me. It was simple. First of all, the board didn't have to figure out who they needed to talk to. But then second, the board also understood that if they called me, I might tell that person when I talk to them, have you talked to the athletic director? Have you talked to whoever? But then I was going to follow up, not with just the one that called me, but all 7 of them. And I was gonna say, hey, in regard to the issue with, here's how it was handled. You know what? That builds trust. It does. If you go to the point that you believe you have to start fixing problems and skipping over the chain of command, then it actually starts carving out some of the autonomy that your athletic director, and I go back to the athletic director, it could be your curriculum director, whoever that person has. So have you talked to the superintendent? Maintaining confidentiality is huge. I will tell you, things that are said in closed session, the things that are talked about in closed session, if they get out, could put the district in legal problems. Normally, you're talking about personnel issues. You may be talking about student discipline, things of that nature. Make sure they stay in-house. Vote your conscience, but support the consensus. Here's what this means. 16 years, I had times that I got a 6-1 vote. I would have board members that would say, I get it. I understand what everybody else is thinking. I just don't know if I can support the measure or not. And so they would vote against it. But when after the agenda, and they may be at a game, or they may be downtown, and someone would say, what happened there? The answer can't be, well, I voted against it. I don't know what those idiots were thinking. That does start chipping away a little bit of the trust. So vote your conscience, but support the consensus. The last two are the same. Advocate for your district in public education. I think that you all have to be the biggest cheerleaders in the district. And then finally, look at the last one. Keep student success at the heart of decisions. The same one. So best practices for you. Board superintendent communications. I believe in weekly updates. Again, you worked with me for a bit, so you know that weekly updates are not out of, that's kind of what I like to do. But I believe in weekly updates. Every superintendent may be different. Josh, it may be every other, it may be whatever, it may be sporadic. But I wanted you to know what went on. I always wanted, update on initiatives, things we were working on. But then also, what's next week look like? Next week look like is incredibly important, especially in a school district that you all like to be involved. And so this is an opportunity to communicate that. It's mostly one way. Communication is mostly the superintendent to the board. I will tell you, I always loved it when one of my board members, after they read that weekly report, they would say, hey, thanks for the update, appreciate you, have a great weekend. Something simple like that, but mostly one way. Emails, texts, and phone calls. Emails, again, it's that once a week regular communication. A text message might be sent to the 7 of you. Now, Josh may be different. He may do 3, 2, and 2. And why would he do that? So we're not violating open meetings. I did a group text, all 7. There were 8 of us together. But I would say, hey, just keep in mind, if you start communicating about board issues on this, school issues on this, we're in violation of open records or Open Meetings Act. But it might be something as simple as, hey, there was an ambulance called to the middle school, allergic reaction. Y'all may have heard about it, because if it gets to town, when it gets to town there was an ambulance, there were police cars at the middle school, and they're on lockdown. Completely different situation. So I would send them a quick text, just a heads up that. The phone call is different. The phone call only happened 2 or 3 times a year, but it was that call that I would have to pick up the phone and I would have to say, giving you a heads up that this is happening. Again, I don't want you to hear about it at the church. I don't want you to hear about it at the game. I want you to hear about it from me. And then we would actually talk about how we needed to respond. But that would be an individual phone call. Some things to think about. We've already talked about closed session. Talking for the board. You are close enough to DFW that Fox 4 can be here in a hurry. And so if something happens, I know that Fox 4 came. I got to see it on the news. So when Fox 4 comes, talking for the board would be your board president. so there will be a tendency that if they know that Monty's on the board and they, some reporter does his digging around and he knows that this is where that Monty shows up, then they may pull Monty aside and say, hey, Monty, tell us about. Pat response is, you'll call Jared, he'll talk to you. That's kind of one of those, by policy, but it also helps with the next one, and that's one message. When we talk about a crisis, when we talk about a situation, even something like you guys went through with, I believe it was the elementary school. Oh, it was here, it was this building. So one of the things that I always believed in is we would craft 3 or 4 bullet points and we would send it to the board and we would say, okay, in regard to this, here are the 3 or 4 bullet points, because we didn't want Steve to say one thing and Adam to say another. Okay, we wanted that one consistent message, because at that point, people they were concerned with what's true, because we're getting different things from different people. Bond elections are the same way. No, you're not doing a bond currently, but you could be soon. And so I think that's important, in that when you go out to a bond election, again, everybody needs the same message. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? How much? Those kind of factors. And then the last one, and this is not a bond discussion, but the last one is what else was considered, because people want to know that. People want to know that you've actually looked at something other than just raising taxes. Okay. That's the best practices. That's that. Now we're going to transition. I want you to think back to when you were in school. Okay? I want you to think back to when you were in school. Some of us, it takes a lot of thinking back. All right? But I want you to think back to when you were in school. Is there more or less accountability now than there was then? Somebody. More or less accountability? More. More? More. There is more accountability. I think so. Not just in your A through F. Y'all, I had the best schedule in the world when I was in high school. Absolutely had the best schedule. No wonder I wanted to coach and teach. I thought it was a great life. My senior year, we were on a 7-period day. First, second, third, fourth period. Then we had lunch. 5th period, I reported to a guy named James Stanford's class. Coach Stanford was my government economics teacher, or I guess government free enterprise. 5th period. And I was his quarterback. And so about halfway through, he'd chunk me the keys and he'd say, go change the laundry. So I'd get in my car, I'd drive down to the field house. It was about 3 blocks, change the laundry out, and I'd put my shorts and t-shirt on, because I was his office aide 6th period. And 7th period was athletics. Y'all, I was through at 1:15, 1:30 every day. It was a great schedule. 0 accountability for my learning. Now, in the afternoon, in the morning, I had Melter and Osmond for English. And I need to write Miss Osmond a letter doing this presentation and thinking, because Miss Osmond made me a good writer. She did. I mean, that was who she was. The difference between her class and Coach Stanford's class was really just, and Coach Stanford's a great man. I saw Coach Stanford 6 months ago when I was in the Graham, Iowa Park area. He lives in Henrietta. I went by and had lunch with him, but his focus was on coaching football. The difference in accountability was teacher to teacher, or in some instances, it could be principal to principal. My mother was an elementary principal. There was a high degree of accountability in her elementary school. There just was. That was Carol Williams. But yet, Chad's right. The degree of accountability has to be there. And so I'm going to ask you a question. Why is accountability important? Why is it important?
It's how we hold a standard ultimately.
Okay, that's our standard. Okay, right now, when we think accountability, we almost default back to A through F and STAR. We do. We go to A through F, we go to STAR, we think about that. I will tell you that accountability in your system also creates equity in your system. So the state of Texas, the map, I put this up for a reason. If I was able to go at the top of Texas, Perryton, you have to fly to Amarillo, you rent a truck, and you go north 2 hours. West Texas, you gotta rent a truck, you can't rent a car. But you go, so I've done that one. I've got a good friend who is down in the Brownsville area, okay? And that's, it's Los Fresnos. Los Fresnos to Perryton. Perryton is closer to Bismarck, South Dakota than it is Los Fresnos. Think about that. We have the same system. We are responsible for educating every 5.5 million kids across the state of Texas, from Perryton to Los Fresnos, Redwater, all the way out to El Paso. Everybody in between, Redwater's Texarkana area. But we're responsible for 5.5 million kids, and it's not principal to principal or teacher to teacher now. It's based on the standards that are set. And so, by the way, I say yes, we have to have standards. There's no questions about that. But when we talk about true accountability, Steve, who are you most accountable to? What's his name? Stephen. Yeah, he's most accountable to Stephen. He is. So much so that I know, come here, Stephen. Come see me. Bring that ball. Yeah, man. Come here. So tell me what grade you're in. First? You're in first grade? And what's your teacher's name? Who? Miss Cravens in first grade. So what's your favorite thing to study? You like math? Reading? A little bit? Math primarily? So I've got a 4-year-old grandson. I'll show you his picture after class. So. But thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. And that's your dad? Pretty good guy. You think so? And don't you worry about causing too much noise. You bounce that ball, okay? All right, I'm good with it. Yeah. That's his accountability. That is. That's his accountability. Your superintendent's accountability. Your superintendent has 1,400 kids. You know, annually we would bring everybody together for the district-wide pep rally. There'd be 2,300 in the stadium. It was an awing experience. 2,300. You know, that's why accountability is important, because we owe it. You owe it to Stephen. We owe it to all 1,400 of it. And I will tell you though, sometimes the STAR test lets us off the hook. But what the STAR test tells us is, if we're a B, or if we work really hard to become an A, that's the end result. You know, the last time you got a kid that takes a test in Maypearl is when? The last time they take a STAR test or an end of course. When was the last time they take an end of course test? April of their junior year, and it's U.S. history. Before that, most of them take them their sophomore year. So what do they do their senior year? I just go home. Not a big deal. But are we truly preparing students? And that's what you're going to hear me say the rest of tonight, but you're also going to hear me say when we're back together, tell me how we're preparing students and how can we measure whether or not we're successful. That's it. We set aside A through F. We talk about it. It's a part of our system. But what we really talk about is how are we preparing kids for their future. Because if I ask Stephen right now, Stephen wants probably to be a baseball player when he grows up. By the time he's in maybe sophomore or junior, he's going to go to law school. Or if he likes math, he'll be an engineer. I mean, but that's it. What?
His sister's going to go to law school.
His sister's going to law school. That's awesome. But that's why accountability is important. And I want us to keep that question in mind. Why is accountability important? And we'll talk more about that. What can we learn from these two companies? There are two companies. On the left side of the screen is Blockbuster. Blockbuster had cornered the market. Probably wasn't a Blockbuster here in town, but if you went to Waxahachie, there was a Blockbuster. There wasn't one in Sunnyvale, but there was one in Mesquite, just the other side of Beltline Road. Folks in Sunnyvale, you can't be on the other side of Beltline Road after dark. That's kind of a rule. They let the drawbridge up and down. But Blockbuster, if you wanted to do something on a Saturday night, the Rangers weren't playing, when you rented a movie at Blockbuster, they had the market cornered. How many of you have been to a Blockbuster in the last year? What happened was Blockbuster, they were making money hand over fist. It was a monopoly almost. But then a group came to them and they said, you know, instead of DVDs, have you thought about using the internet and actually streaming movies over the internet and charging people to do it? And they said, why in the world would somebody do that when they can go down to the store, get a DVD, get them some popcorn and come back? So they said, no thanks. So the group that actually approached them about that left and they formed Netflix. They formed Netflix. Blockbuster went away. Chick-fil-A's the other one. I've got a personal story behind Chick-fil-A. Young man on the left, his name is Seth O'Neill. I had gotten to know Seth O'Neill through the guy that he works for, the guy that owns 3 Chick-fil-A's in the Mesquite, Forney, Sunnyvale. He and I go to church together. We are good friends. If the Cowboys are playing, we're normally together. I mean, it's that guy. But Seth would come over and hang out with a bunch of old men, and I finally said, you know, we need to introduce you to somebody. And he said, Olivia. Olivia's my daughter, and by the way, the mother of the 4-year-old now. But when they were dating, July 4th of 2019, Olivia comes to me, probably the first or second. We want to have a party at the house. She had moved back because they were to be married, and the lease was up. And so she said, I'm going to live with y'all. In fact, that was kind of our cue that they were getting married when she moved back in. But they said, we want to do a July 4th party. Well, it was a small party. It was the 2 of them. It was a guy named Brett Boone, who also worked for Chick-fil-A, and his girlfriend, Hannah. They're now married. You look across the church on Sunday morning, the 4 of them now sit together. And a young man named Sean O'Neill, who is Seth's brother, his wife, and their 4 kids. And by the way, Sean works for Chick-fil-A. He now owns the Chick-fil-A in Seagoville. And so the couples and the family came to our house. They had lunch. The girls took the kids to swim, and the 3 of them sat around my dining room table, lunch July 4th, and talked not about the Rangers. They didn't talk about swimming, or they didn't talk about hunting. They talked about how to improve the drive-through process at Chick-fil-A. They were all about continuing to improve what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. That's what Chick-fil-A was all about. That was the culture that had been invented. In March of 20, keep in mind, July 19, March of 20, the world shuts down. Clark, the owner, calls me, or I called him, one of the two, because I'm doing the same thing with schools, right? He said, Doug, I don't know what we're going to do. We're a food service organization. If we have to shut down, we may not reopen. We're going to be laying off 300 workers, the whole work. I mean, this is bad. In about 2 weeks, they took the drive-through process that they had talked about refining, and they went to all drive-through sales. So they changed what they were doing. Continued to change. If we did a field trip real quick, and we went up 66 to the Chick-fil-A that was built right there on I-30, that is a drive-through Chick-fil-A. The ones that they build now are built with the drive-through approach and very little in-store. The picture I'm showing you is actually Sunnyvale. You notice there's 1 person, maybe 2 people in line, and the drive-through is stacked. Used to be that it was 50-50. It was about 50% in-store, about 50% drive-through. It's now 25% revenue in-store, 75% drive-through, and Chick-fil-A's gone from a great corporation to a booming corporation. So my question is, who are you going to be? Will you be Blockbuster, or will you be Chick-fil-A?
And Chick-fil-A's in every one of these presentations too, like
Absolutely.
they're a model for
A-
a lot.
absolutely.
Can you turn that mic, so the people that are watching the live stream can hear you?
Oh, and I'm wondering too, aren't I? Yeah. So here's the interesting thing, though. You know, the question is, who will you be? And as we think about this, understand that in 26, 27, vouchers are coming. Vouchers are coming in 26, 27. So kids, or really parents, can now choose to put their kids in charter schools. There are charter schools that they can easily access from your campus, from your district. They can go to they can go to private school. They can even homeschool, or they can choose Maypearl. And what we've got to be about, and what you two have to be about, is you've got to have them choose to go to Maypearl. You have to be the choice, not anybody else. And I think that's important. I think the mistake, though, is if we're like Blockbuster and we say, day starts at 8, ends at 3:30. If y'all can't make it, y'all can go somewhere else. Can't happen anymore. We're not the only game in town. And I think that's reality, and we'll talk more about that. All right, your time to talk. I want you to take a minute. I want you to flip your agenda over. There's nothing sacred about it. Just on the bottom, I want you to write what you believe the strengths of the district to be, and then take just a couple minutes also, identify some areas to address. This is an all-skate, and he knows only what he has either heard or he's researched. And so, but I think this is a good activity. Strengths of the district and identity and areas to address. Take a couple minutes. Nothing magical. All right, Adam, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about the strengths.
I put my strengths as I believe everyone here across the district all wants what's best for the kids, right? So,
Everybody wants what's best for the kid.
Right.
Good. Monty, what about you?
I've said, I know over the years, like kids that graduate from here and end up going to college, they're usually very successful in college, so.
Which tells me that they're being well prepared for college, and that's incredibly important. One thing that I'll encourage the administrative team to do going forward, small town. I will tell you that in the town that the school district I worked in, around Christmas time, all of the college kids would start coming back. Band concerts and choir concerts and basketball games and that. I would always, if I could find them, talk to them, ask them one question. Tell me what we could have done to prepare you better. Give me one thing. One of them said, Mr. Williams, we never took a test. I said, what? He said, we never took a comprehensive test. I had to study for finals. I had no idea it would be everything that any note or book I had read. And so we actually quit exempting the students from core classes for the fall semester. I wanted them to take a final. I didn't hurt attendance, but I wanted them to take that final. Why? Because it was our job to make sure they were prepared. Great answer, mine. Jared?
We got great kids.
Okay, good kids.
Yeah.
Good kids. Let me ask you a question. You got good kids. Do you have kids that, do you have kids, I'm going to use the sports analogy now, that are used to high jumping 5 feet, but if you raise the bar to 5 feet 4 inches, they'll actually give it a shot, or they're going to go, I can't high jump 5'4", I only high jump 5. Jared?
Yeah, I think for the most part we got kids that are ready to.
They're ready to.
Yeah.
They're ready to. Remember one of the things I said about expectations? Expectations, it's that analogy. Expectations is the superintendent and his staff are continually raising that bar. You know why you can't talk about the STAR test so much, in my opinion? Now, you got to. You got to talk about the STAR. You got to prepare it. What percentage of your kids need assistance on the STAR? Truly need assistance? Not very high. We determined it was about 15%. So what were the other 85% doing? Well, the kids that were in honors classes, AP, whatever, they were doing okay. But the other kids that were in a class, and we were talking about April and that one test over and over and over, they were bored to tears. It didn't take long. And I, what were the expectations there? It was passing that test. Is it 5 feet? Jeremy?
Since he stole one of my favorite ones,
That's okay.
because I like our kids, we have teachers and admin that care for our kids like they are their own.
Okay. They care for the kids. All right. I think that one of the things that is most important is I think every kid has a place. Every kid has a place. If a kid comes to school, whether mom picks them up or picks them up, drops them off, they ride the bus, or if they're a high school kid, they drive to school. They have to have their reason to be there. They have to. Athletics, FFA, fine arts. They're just a top scholar, whatever that thing is. They have to have that thing. If they don't have that thing, they're not going to want to come. Had a kid named Jerry. Not going to pick on the Jerrys of the world. Jerry wouldn't come to school. Come to find out, Jerry was came from a single parent home. Dad was long gone. Mom would leave about 6 every morning and drive into Tyler. This is when I was a high school principal. And Jerry wouldn't come to school. Truancy court, the whole work. We did all of that. One day, Jerry doesn't come in. When he comes in, he strolls in about 9. And I told the receptionist, I said, send Jerry to my office. And so I was going to, it's going to be discipline consequences for Jerry, failure to attend, tardies, I don't know what. I was going to make up something. I was just tired of dealing with Jerry. Couldn't get the freaking printer to work. Jerry's half asleep, and he goes, you need some help with that. And I said, sure, you know how to do it. So I got up. He comes behind my chair, hits about 2 buttons, and about 10 copies comes off because I've hit print about 10 times. And I said, you pretty good with technology? He said, yes, sir. I went over. I called 1001, which is the superintendent's number, and I said, are we still looking for a part-time tech? He said, yes. And Jerry was a junior. I said, okay, I'm going to send one of our students over to meet with Todd, and Todd was our computer guy, our tech guy, and our tech guy. We readjusted Jerry's schedule so that Jerry got through at 5th period, and he spent the rest of the day doing technology. Guess what happened to Jerry's attendance? We didn't have to talk to Jerry anymore because Jerry had a reason to come to school. If he came to school, he got to do technology. And I think that is important. So what is that for each kid is so important. Jerry? This Jerry?
Yeah, now that you've been picking on me, I feel like my story went pretty good there at the end. Sounds good. In addition to what everybody's saying here, I do think our size is an advantage for us from a connection perspective from all aspects, from superintendent down to every level of staff to make that connection with everybody. I think we heard that a lot in this search aspect of kind of an excitement to be able to touch all those campuses essentially.
And it will be hard between now and the end of the school year, but by this time next year, when he walks into a classroom, everybody should know who that guy is, right? To me, that's job one. That's job one. It really is. Incredibly important. All right, Chad.
Well, I just want to say thanks to everybody that stole my answers. So, I don't know what I'm going to do down here. I know, I'm like, no, but honestly, I feel like it's something I wrote down is small town, big reach.
Uh-huh.
And also, I feel like we have a good community around us as
Okay.
well.
All right. Talk to me about community around you.
I think a lot of people are looking for small town, but also somebody that cares. I mean, I think all of us have the same stories, maybe except for Monty. Monty's been here for a couple of years. But, you know, all of us moving here for the purpose of wanting to have a more intimate, more intentional community to be around, school that cares about them. Their kids are not just a number, but they're somebody that means something.
And by the way, now where you are, everybody, you know, we understand the growth, the expansion, and as people are looking to move out of some of the concrete, and but you're competing against Grandview, you're competing against a Palmer, or and so I think you have to be aware of that. But I love what you said about that community and how you can draw on that. I woke up in Fredericksburg this morning. They did their videos Monday night. I stayed yesterday because my wife decided she wanted to go with me to Fredericksburg, and so I worked Monday, and then Tuesday we did Fredericksburg. Drove home today. I came up 67 through Cleburne, and when I got almost to Alvarado, I saw a billboard that said Keene. And I know Ricky. If you don't get to know Ricky, great guy. But Keene is actually advertising to get people to don't choose charter, don't choose private. If you want to go somewhere, you don't have to, you can go to Cleburne, good school district, you can go to Alvarado, good school district, or you can come to the small school district. You can come to Keene, and where everybody's going to know your name. I think that's valuable. All right, Steve.
I think we've really got at our CCMR, I know it didn't show the numbers right now, but I think we've got a lot of momentum building. We're graduating 10 seniors with associate's degree out of a class of 70.
Great.
15%. A lot of momentum. So I think everyone's moving in the right direction. And then also our extracurricular activities, big shift in athletics, ag mechanical, UIL, band, dance, whatever we're doing. I think we're getting some good shift there.
Good deal. All right, no perfect school. I want to know areas to address, and I'm going to start with you.
Oh, I get to go first.
Let's go. Put Adam on the spot this time.
No, I think we're at the to capitalize on that minute, like a reset the clock, right?
Okay.
And it's a good time to set the bar, like in this training, and the conversations we need to have is we all need to have that same vision of we're going to be here.
Yeah.
So I think that reset the bar is the top priority.
We're going to reset the bar, need to reestablish the vision. You reestablish the vision, you need to begin to talk about goals, and we're going to talk about that next. So, Chad.
I'd like for us to see about how we can increase our CTE as we continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Look at CTE, look at the job market, and how are we preparing students for that? Now, understand, my dad was a row crop farmer. He was. Farmed 4,000 acres. My brother still farms. He farms 11,000. My dad spends all of his time saying, why in the world does he have to farm 11,000 acres? I got by on 4. And I'll tell him, well, Dad, people don't farm with an 856 farm all anymore. I mean, that's just the way it is. But so if we focus on how to get kids ready to be a row crop farmer, that field is narrowing because you don't have those small farmers anymore. You got 11,000 people. But what are those CTE? What are those jobs out there, and where? How is it going to be impacted? So last week I was in Howe. Okay, I think y'all know the person that was in Howe now, don't you? Yep. And so I did a team of 8 for them. They are 6 miles from a TI facility that is about to add 5,000 jobs, and it's going to be semiconductor chips is what it's going to be. And so they got to talk about how they're getting kids ready for that. So, Jerry?
I think one thing we've touched through is honestly overall just instruction, walking through that, and then we're talking about goals here. My big thing's always defining expectations, and so
Okay.
I think it's just giving clarity to everybody of where they fall in that, and what those expectations are.
Here's something I want to challenge you to do. You ready for this note? When you begin that process, you need to have this room full with parent groups. Now, when I invited a group to come out, y'all gave me, I think, 24 names, and I think 20 of them showed up. I think that by the time you're finished, you can come up with 80 names, and I think 60 of them will come. And you need to have a candid conversation about what are your expectations for Maypearl? What are your expectations for your kid? How can we help to get there? You want community buy-in? You got to ask them, and I think it's important. I think that's important. So, include them in the process. The 8 of you, it's great. Including every administrator, that's great. But bring those parents in. All right, Jeremy.
I was still writing your note, sorry.
You're
Okay, so I'm going to say my 3 real quick, but accountability is big. Culture is getting a lot better, I think, right now. But I think culture is still a little bit of a weakness, and we need some work there. And making sure that we're moving in the same direction across all campuses.
Okay. Everybody is aligned. Pure alignment, complete alignment. Talk to me about culture. I want you to tell me what you envision maybe is lacking in culture.
You know, I think it's kind of like the kids. Like we want them to want to be here. I think we want the teachers to want to be here, even if they're making a little bit less money. We want them to want to be in Maypearl.
Okay, that's a culture factor. So I haven't spent much time with you, 4 or 5 months, but I've spent some time. I want, and a little bit of this is the interim. And by the way, she did a tremendous job. So moving the district, making sure that the district ran well, and a lot of hours, I know that. One of the things that I sense relating to culture is a sense of urgency. And the sense of urgency meaning we got to go. Now it's time. Why? Because you look up and the kids that are this age are going to be in middle school soon. And it's just that. And by the way, that starts with your superintendent. It resonates through the principals, and it goes to the teachers. There is no such thing as an off day. It's the message that's sent. My wife gave a pre-test in AP their first day. First day, the kid, and by the way, the kids knew because they had heard from the previous class, right? When you walk into Miss Williams' class, she's going to say, welcome, here's the syllabus, now put everything up, here's the test, let's go. Oh my. And it was over the summer reading that they had to do, but the message, it really wasn't the test, it was just the message that if you don't want to do the work, please go do something else. And it's just that. So, Jared?
For me, it's resetting expectations.
Okay.
Right? We've talked about it quite a bit, but just the fact that we want Maypearl to be the best at everything.
Okay.
Right? From academics to athletics to ag to I want to go kick people's butt in one act play. I don't care. I want to be the best at all of it.
Yep.
Right? And setting that expectation that we're not just getting through the day or getting through the 6 weeks or getting through the semester, but we're coming to excel at everything that we do, from students to custodians to, the food services people and bus drivers. We want to be the best at everything that we do.
Very good. Very good. Monty?
Excuse me. Mine kind of touches on what Jeremy said, like with the culture. My we're having a horrible time, or have over the last few years had a horrible time keeping and recruiting and keeping quality educators. And that's something we need to work on.
That's the first thing that I was told when I met with Steve and I met with Chad and Jared around a table over a burger in Waxahachie was that bleeding's got to stop. We got to make sure that we're doing a good job keeping our teachers here. I agree. Adam.
I wrote down, get everyone moving in the same direction.
Okay. That's that alignment picture.
Yeah.
That's that alignment picture.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah. Great minds. All right, I'm gonna ask Kristen to share. Do you mind? Okay.
Great. For areas to address, I have level of expectations, consistency and urgency, and then transparency.
Urgency, probably same word, same way that that same feeling, sense of urgency, yeah. And then transparency. And transparency is important too. Give me a way that you believe transparency could be improved.
I think we just have to start having conversations.
Okay.
I think it starts with the level of setting expectations, and when you set the expectations, you explain the why behind the expectations and the non-negotiables, and then you move on. And
Yeah.
it's fair and consistent across the board. Here's the why, and we've got work to do. The urgency, I just feel like in our profession, if we don't have a sense of urgency always, we're wasting a kid's entire fourth grade year that they can't ever get back.
So much.
And so we have a responsibility to understand that when we get up every day, there's a sense of urgency. And I think our staff needs to know that. I think they need to know that that's what our stance is, and that this job comes with a very high level of responsibility.
And by the way, that is modeled. That's modeled by administration. If administration operates with a sense of urgency, then that begins to permeate. All right. I'll wait till last. Share with me your thoughts.
You know, I think throughout the interview process, this was all conveyed, and I thought that we did a good job, talking through that, and, it was important to them that I was able to provide examples of what I was going to do and how we're going to do it. It is, all the things you guys said are very important, being on campuses, talking to principals, talking to teachers. I've always thought it important, if the superintendent's in the classroom, it makes a link between what the principal's hearing, between what the other support people are saying. But then we talked about, like, with teacher retention and morale and culture, I've always found money gets people in the door, but support keeps them here.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to be really good at. We've got to be really good at supporting our staff, not just saying, hey, grades need to come up so we can get a B or an A or whatever what we're going for at the time. But hey, this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to get in there with you. And I think that's what we've got to convey throughout from top down is, how are we going to get in the ditch and work with you? And I think that's going to cure a whole lot of what everybody's talked about right now so far.
So, as a superintendent, I never did a formal evaluation, a formal appraisal. That was not my job. My job was to appraise my assistant superintendent and the principals. And then, by the way, and then she appraised the directors. But that was our structure. I never did a PDAS or a T-test or whatever. That was not what I did. But I did walkthroughs. I did learning walks. Now, if I went through the class many times and, I was in Adam's class and Adam's teaching math, and every time I come in, Adam's behind his computer screen, checking his lineup for his fantasy football team. And they're working 2 through 48 evens or whatever the case may be. I might swing by, and if Josh is my principal, I might say, hey, next time you get a chance and you're out and about, just pop in on Adam. Make sure he's getting after it. That was it. The rest of the time, I just wanted to be out where they were, and I averaged probably 5 a week. I would try to, vary it. One week I'm gonna be on this campus, next week I go there. But it's really hard I heard this from a leader once. If you think about it, and again, I relate everything to coaching. All right, if I am the head coach of an organization and the team is practicing, I'm not in my office. I'm on the practice field. It's big. You have to. I was in church one day out in our little lobby, and I had a dad come over. He goes, "You're Mr. Williams, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I'm new to the district," and I knew that because if he had to ask, I'm new to the district. And he said, "My daughter pointed you out." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And he said, "When you walked in, she said, he works for the school district. I think he's one of the lunch ladies." He's one of the lunch ladies. What did that mean? What does that mean? I mean that, they thought that I worked in the cafeteria because that's where I was. And by the way, I went to the elementary cafeteria because those people that, once they get to know you, they're rock stars. If you have a bad morning, go to the elementary cafeteria, they'll love on you. And that's just the way it is. So really important. All right. Now that you have identified the areas to address, we're going to talk for a few minutes about what goals and priority development is. To me, the most important thing that you do as a board is what you just did. You hire a superintendent, and then you evaluate the superintendent. We'll talk more about that process down the line, but the second most important thing that you do is you set goals and priorities. Here's what they need to be. Goals and priorities, you need to identify 3 to 5 specific areas to address. I believe in identifying 3 to 5 specific areas that you need to address. I think I've shared with you, but what we would do is that area to address, those areas to address, I would get feedback from my specialists, from my experts, my superintendent, the assistant superintendent, our directors, our principals. We would come together collectively with the board, and we would sit down and we would say, we want to talk about where we are as a district. We would look at some numbers. We would talk, this is what we're hearing from our parent groups, and then we would say, here's where we need to go as a district. And then we would identify 3 to 5 specific things. Now, I say areas to address instead of specific. You're going to have your board goals, right? Those House Bill 3 goals that you have to adopt. 3rd grade reading, 3rd grade math, CCMR. Those are the numericals. These are, we are really struggling in our science program. Okay, so we're going to improve that. One of the things that we felt like we were falling behind in was STEM education. We weren't getting it done. So one of the areas that we had as an area to address for multiple years was STEM education. Multiple years, because we would come back and we would say, we're not there yet. Let's continue to press that. We put resources there. We added dedicated STEM teachers to that area. So you want to identify those areas. Second, you want to identify how progress towards those goals will be evaluated. You need to know that. You need to say, if we're going to have a goal, it can't just sit on Josh's desk. It has to be a part of your culture. And then finally, identify how the goals will impact student achievement. Again, if it's not about the kids, I'll never forget one of my first appraisals. 2 or 3 years in, I actually showed up on my appraisal that the lights in the parking lot heading into the gym did not come on early enough. Oh my God. I mean, really, that was one of them. That was a comment that came out of my appraisal. And I said, I got it. I understand. I'll tell you why. Early in basketball season is when the time changes, and the lights have been coming on at 6 o'clock, and now it's 5 o'clock. And so if they don't come on till 6, it's been dark an hour. We can fix that. But what does that have to do with student achievement? Because isn't that what that's what we're all about. So that's what your goals and priorities have to be, is you have to look at that. Now, the step that you just took, we could begin to talk about. We could talk about CTE. We could talk about teacher retention. We could talk about making sure that we've got alignment in place. All of those things, and that may be the first 3 to 5 you select. But based on that, those are beginning to be some areas that you may want to adopt. But again, we're a little bit away. But anyway, those 3 to 5. Here's what the goals should do. The goals must be communicated. If the 8 of you, even the 16 of you, come up with the goals and it sits behind their collective desk, in my opinion, it's of no value. It's got to be communicated. It's got to be communicated to every one of the employees. Why? Because number 2, it's going to drive daily decisions. Sometimes the why is because that is within our goals and priorities. That's why we do what we do, and it drives those daily decisions. Your employees need to know. The best session that I ever did to start the school year, believe it or not, was myself and my board president sitting on stools in front of 300 employees. And we set our goals and priorities, and we showed them, and we talked about them so that they knew what those were. We published them. We wanted them in front of them. Your parents need to know that. Your parents need to know that. That has to be communicated. And then your community needs to know that as well. They have to know what the goals are, but then also what else do they have to know? These are the steps that we're taking. I think that is just as important, because that is that sense of accountability. You are accountable to Stephen, but you're also accountability to the people that, quote, put you into office. And that accountability piece is, this is what we are going to work on, and this is the progress we're making. Second bullet point, it does drive daily decisions. It should drive your budget. You should be able to give me your budget, and I can look at it probably in about 10 minutes, and I can say, these are where your priorities are. Should drive those day-to-day decisions. And then third, in my opinion, it should be a part of the administrative appraisal process. Tough concept, okay? But if you're going to do it, you're holding him accountable. Now, get this, the superintendent really does not have direct influence on a lot of those. I didn't have a whole lot of direct influence on STEM education other than creating positions. I told the high school principal, you go add a STEM teacher, middle school principal, add a STEM teacher, elementary, you're going to have someone assigned to STEM that is going to work with them. We put STEM as a part of our specials, okay? And we were going to do it, right? And so because we were going to do it, that was influenceable. But yet, as the superintendent, he is responsible for executing, again, that word, your goals and priorities. But guess who else is? They are. And so part of the administrative appraisal process was how those people that were my direct reports were addressing the goals and priorities in front. We created a Google Doc. I wanted to know, and by the way, on a regular basis, I shared that Google Doc with the board, because my curriculum director could go in and she could say, within STEM education, these are the things that we're doing. Teacher retention and recruitment, these are the things that we are doing. And so that there was that communication piece. I wanted them to communicate with me. I had control of that document as well. So I put in the things that we were doing in that area, but it was a collaborative effort that we all worked together on to execute that. Being a part of the appraisal process, a portion of my appraisal was, how was I executing those goals and priorities? But then I also wanted to know how they were as well. Incredibly huge step. So when we're back together, we're going to begin to start continuing to talk about more goals and priorities. All right, here's a picture of 8 desperate individuals, outlaws, that I actually took this picture 3 weeks ago. No, I didn't take the picture. Did I take it? I think you took it and you sent it to me. So here's my question. And this is your final thought question. This is your ticket out the door. Charting the journey. After 3 years, this team of 8 will have been successful if. All right, on your paper, I want you to write down what you believe, how we can determine whether or not this team of 8 has been successful. You too. right, Adam, I'm gonna start with you.
I said in 3 years, you could tell we're successful for having to build another school because everyone wants to be here.
Nah, I like that. I like that. And the bond's been passed.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, Steve.
So I think of future tense,
Thank you.
So I was thinking future tense. We are beating Grandview in 90% of all student activities.
Okay. Here's what I want you
That's
to
a
do.
little funny one, but I like it.
So, I challenge you to do this. All student activities, I want you to chart your ACT, SAT performance.
Okay.
I want you to chart the percent of your students I want you to chart your CCMR compared to theirs. I want you to look at participation levels in fine art. Do it. You want to be good at it? Do it.
That was kind of my joke, but the serious one
No, I agree. Dadgummit, let's go.
is we are a model of student outcomes in the state of Texas.
Okay, student outcomes. And by the way, we will when we're back. We're going to talk about what student outcomes are important to you. Very much. Chad.
I put on here, retention rate is no longer an issue, that Midlothian and Waxahachie teachers want to come here to be with us,
Okay, you're keeping your teachers.
keeping the
You're
teachers.
keeping your teachers. That's very good. All right, Monty. You stepped out for just a second.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I mean, it's a combination of things. It's, our scores coming up, our graduation rates increasing, which I believe our graduation rates aren't bad as it is, but just as long, if we increase in everything that we're trying to accomplish, then I think
Okay.
that's success to me.
All right. Jerry?
I put here that if we help lead a culture shift that brings trust, accountability, and drive to all aspects of
Okay.
Maypearl. So for me, if it's at the teachers, that will bleed into the students, and that's the ultimate aspect
Give
of
me
it.
those three. Culture shift toward.
I just said it brings trust, accountability, and I just put in quotes, drive. Just that
Drive.
intentionality, just a
Drive.
hunger to
Yes.
be more.
Yes. Very good. All right, Jeremy.
Jerry always says what I want to say, just just makes it sound a lot prettier. So I can barely even read my own handwriting. So hopefully we teach kids to write better than I do. I created a district that kids and teachers love to come to school because of the culture of accountability, high achievement, and competitiveness that we helped create.
Kids want to come to school. Kids, I'll preach for a second. It's okay to have fun at school. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that. We really did. And by the way, engaging, challenging learning is fun for kids. Sitting at their desk and pouring over worksheets, no fun for kids. I really like that. I really like that. Jared? I'm ending with the board president.
Yeah, so Steve, I see you're 90 and I raise you to 92. No, but in all seriousness, just if we've changed the culture and expectations around here, I think the rest of it it takes care of itself. So yeah, if we've changed culture and expectations, I think we'll be on the right path, and we'll look back and go, okay, I think we're doing all right.
Good deal. All right. Want to hear from the superintendent? Soon to be superintendent.
Soon to be.
3 sleeps away.
No, I just, I wrote down that Maypearl ISD is measurably better at all aspects of what we do. And that comes down from academics to grounds to cafeteria to extracurriculars. Success breeds success. And, when people are supported and feel happy, they're going to go out and give their best effort. And that's what we need from everybody top down. And that's how we get. That's what's exciting, man, is everybody's got the same. I mean, it's not, we're not going lowballing things, man. We're going to go out and swing, and that's fun. And that's, like I said, kids, community, teachers, all of it. When they can get behind something with an energy, big things are going to come.
All right. So here's what I want. I want those 8 responses collected somehow and I want them saved. Because at some point, you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, how successful were we in those? So, but I'd love for you to save those responses. So, questions and comments? Anybody got questions or comments for me? Anything? I know I said this before, but I want to say it. I have enjoyed this journey with you. There was quite a bit of apprehension the first day that I met with 3 of you and then came in, and I know the journey was sometimes difficult, but I have thoroughly enjoyed working with the 7 of you and now the 8 of you, and definitely you as well, Kristen. You're a good group. School boards, you're not paid for what you do. You do this because you love your community, you love your kids. The heartbeat of any community is the school district. And if we don't have a good school board, our school district is not strong. It's a tough job. Sometimes it's a thankless job. So I'm thanking you. Thanking you for your service. I've watched y'all grow up some in the last 4 months. And this is a great board. This is a great board, and you've got a good team of 8. So I'm excited about the journey forward for you. So
Opening day predictions.
I think they're going to win 84 games and just miss the playoffs. Yep. I think that if our first 2 starters that we weren't depending on are like a combined 80, I think Evaldi's about my age, so. And then when you start saying if this guy hits and that guy hits and if this guy hits, then I think it's 84. My son said 87, and he said they're going to make the playoffs, so we'll see. So. You think they'll make the playoffs? Man, I hope so. All right, y'all.
At least we're not talking about the Cowboys.
I'm going to turn it over to you. Oh, we know how that ends, don't we?
At least we're not talking about that.
Yeah, we know how that goes. All right, if there's no dissent, then we are adjourned at 7:55.